All right, we are up and running. We can start.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Good morning, everyone. It's 9:00 a.m. and I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Rules Policy and Industrial Relations Committee for Friday, January 27, 2023. Before we begin, please note this meeting is live streamed on YouTube and recorded. Members of the public are encouraged to watch and listen to the meeting on your YouTube or by dialing into the following number, 415-569-6446, to access the audio of the meeting. If you'd like to provide public comment at today's meeting, please call the following number, 415-569-6446, and let the facilitator know what items you'd like to speak on today. I appreciate everyone's patience as we move through today's meeting. And Madam Secretary, can you please call the roll?
Good morning again, everyone. I'm going to start with Director Conroy. Is absent. Director Grosboll. Is absent. Director Hill.
Here, sorry.
There we go. Hello, Director Grosboll. Director Maston.
Here.
Thank you. Director Parr.
Present.
Vice Chair Garbarino.
Here.
Chair Hernandez.
Here.
And President Terrio.
Here.
Great. You have a quorum, and we have on the line, we also have Directors Cochran, Snyder, and Thier. So you are a committee of the whole. Let me confirm staff really quickly. It's Dennis Mulligan.
Here.
Joe Wire.
Yes.
Eva Barr-Furbish.
Present.
Kim Manolius.
Morning.
Thank you. Madeline Chun.
Good morning.
Morning. Dave Rivera.
Good morning, President.
Morning. Mona Babauta.
Present.
You and Kelly Hopper.
Good morning.
Great, thank you. Also on the line and presenting today, we have Brian Garrity, and we've also invited Tima Davenport. Thank you both for joining us. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. Welcome, everyone. Great to see you all. So I'd like to remind everyone to mute their microphones until after staff's presentation, and remember to unmute when we open up for directors' discussion. If we have directors joining us by phone, please remember to use *6 to unmute before you speak. After staff's presentation today, I'll be asking for any questions or comments on the item. Please click on raise hand on your device if you have a question, or press *9 for the raise hand function if you're joining by phone. If there are any questions, the Secretary or I will call on you. Thank you in advance, Emret, for helping me to catch any hands that I've missed. But if both I and Amaret fail, please speak up, wave your hands, do something so that I can recognize you to speak. After our discussion, we'll go for any public comment. Currently, I think there is none, but Amaret's going to be checking on that. So thank you for keeping an eye on that, Amaret. Please follow along by referring to the page numbers located on the bottom right-hand corner of your meeting packet. And we'll begin with agenda item number 3, to approve changes to the procurement manual to incorporate consideration of social equity in district procurements. Director of Procurement, Brian Garrity, is with us today. Thank you, Brian, for being here. And please begin your report.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Hernandez. Good morning, members of the committee and members of the board. I am Brian Garrity, Director of Procurement, and I am pleased to present this item to you today. The item before you will provide for a change to the district's procurement manual that will allow for the inclusion of social equity as an evaluation factor in some district best value procurements. Now, this matter will also be presented to the Board of Directors at your meeting today. Over the past year, district staff and district attorneys have presented information to the Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Advisory Committee regarding the legal framework for diversity and equity in district contracting activities. Now, these discussions included analysis of laws and regulations governing the administration of Federal Transit or FTA and Federal Highway Administration, FHWA, and district funded contracts and projects, as well as information regarding the procurement department and its role in the district's diversity program. Pursuant to these discussions, the committee requested staff to bring forth an item related to consideration of social equity as an evaluation factor in some of the district's eligible procurements. So what does it mean when we talk about social equity? Social equity is a component of corporate social responsibility, which in and of itself is the idea that businesses can support initiatives that positively contribute to the public the environment, and the economy in which they operate. Social equity refers to the corporate social responsibility initiatives that promote the fair, just, and equitable distribution of public services and implementation of public policy. The commitment to promote fairness, justice, and equity in the business relationships that are essential to the organization's operations. The district seeks to conduct business with suppliers who demonstrate responsible business practices through social equity and positive economic impacts to their community. Now, this self-regulatory action reflects the district's accountability and commitment to contributing to the well-being of the community. As such, the district can support the goals of social equity through adding a social equity evaluation criteria to some best value procurements. This would provide an additional points to a firm's score if they can demonstrate their business practices support such concepts as maximizing employment, training, and apprenticeship opportunities among local disadvantaged populations, that they ethically source products and have ethically sourced supply chain considerations. They ensure competitive pay and comprehensive benefits to their employees. They have occupational health and safety initiatives. They create jobs in their community, and they use local suppliers. In order to enact this change, staff recommends adding a statement to the district's procurement manual that would allow the district to include a criterion that focuses on responsible business practices and this commitment to supporting social equity. In addition, this recommendation also includes a provision for reporting back to the board through the normal board report authorizing contract award, or for solicitations awarded under the general manager's authority through the general manager's quarterly report on procurement activity. The staff report before you also includes a sample list of solicitations that could be affected by a social equity evaluation criterion. I won't list them all today, but a few examples are actuarial services, external audit services, janitorial services, staffing services, printing of our transit tables, timetables and guides, and security guard services. Now that is the end of my report today, and I will be happy to answer any questions. I'd offer if Tima or Dennis would like to add anything to the discussion. Thank you very much.
You're muted, Chair Hernandez.
Thank you very much, Dennis. I was just thanking Brian. Thank you very much, Brian, for your report and for your work on this committee. As Brian has said, I imagine, Dennis, you may have some additional comments, and Tima, be wonderful if you would like to chime in as well.
I would just like to thank the advisory committee for helping guide us to this juncture today as we continue our journey. And I'd like to thank Brian and Tima for their excellent staff support to these efforts.
Thank you, Dennis. Tima, do you have a comment? Anything that you want to contribute?
Yes, I'd just like to thank Brian, working with Brian and his team and the Diversity Inclusion Committee to get to this point. I'm excited about this new addition for social equity and in our solicitation. So great job, Brian. And I'm excited to just review what, the proposals and bids that we receive on this topic. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Tima. Madam Secretary, can you please call on board members that may have any questions? Anybody? I see Barbara's hand up. Barbara, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Sabrina, for taking on this committee. When we conceptualized it 2 or 3 years ago, we weren't real sure where it was headed, but we knew it was important. And so thank you and the staff for making it a reality. As I read through it, and how do we, I guess I'll make it a question. How do we ensure that the organizations that we deal with really understand it? I mean, are we legally able to ask for any statistics from them? Are we legally able to ask where they source their materials? Are we legally able to ask how many complaints they've had against them by their employees? Is there any kind of legal term or legal way other than just having them check a box that say, yes, we've done this? I mean, if we're going to do it, we need to do it so that we can verify, I think, somehow. So I'll get off and take my question.
Director Parr, thank you for the question. I'll start and then leave it to Kim or Madeline to answer the legal questions. But when we evaluate anything in an RFP process, we don't have, as you mentioned, like check boxes. Did you do this? Did you do that? Yes or no. We have them provide us context and information on what their companies are doing. This evaluation factor will be evaluated by a team, just like any other evaluation factor as far as their qualifications and experience, their prior work. And so they'll have to provide information around that would support their assertion that they do, in fact, support social equity.
Okay, thank you. And then do we send them something akin to the list that's in our packet that tells them what our definition of social equity is?
Yes, Director Parr, any solicitation that has this as an evaluation factor will have the questions that we want them to answer specifically.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Parr. I see Dick Roswell, your hand is up. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you for this proposal. You know, I had a couple comments and questions. In the legal considerations section, it says that it says all public works construction contracts must be solicited on a sealed bid basis and awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. And thus this wouldn't apply to them, same way with the architectural and design. But I didn't quite realize it was that absolute. I realize in almost most cases we do go with the lowest price bidder. But in that determination of whether or not somebody is responsible, couldn't we take this into consideration?
Director Groswell, great question. Again, I'll start off and leave it up to Kim or Madeline to answer the legal questions. Most, I would say 99% of our construction projects are design bid build. And in that scenario, yes, we are required to award to the lowest responsible bidder. We do have the ability under statute to do design build or construction manager at risk. And in those situations, there could be a possibility that we could include this as an evaluation factor. The determination of responsive and responsible, again, I'll ask Kim this, but my assertion is that we probably could not evaluate this in a responsibility determination. But Kim, if you have any input on that, I'd appreciate that as well.
If I could jump in before Kim, in addition to what Brian just said, a couple years ago, as part of a budget trailer bill in Sacramento, we received the authorization to use the CMGC, Construction Manager General Contractor procurement method for the Phase 3B retrofit. So that will not be a hard, low bid, and qualifications will come into play. It is a federally funded project, so the qualifications process has to comply with all federal regulations. The current administration, though, has opened the door for an expanded view of qualifications and allows different authorities. So one of the things that the board may be considering in the coming months is, do they want to have a project labor agreement in this effort? So there are different things that we can do under existing regulations and laws. But ultimately, we do have to comply with the California Public Contract Code, and we have to comply with federal procurement regulations. And that's a layperson's take on it. I just had to mention the CMGC, though, because that is what we will be using for our next biggest project. And with that, Kim and Madeline can jump in.
Madeline, do you want to take it? If not, okay.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Madeline.
I'm sorry, I'm slow on the unmute button. I think that these are all very valid points to bear in mind as we develop these documents for solicitations to take this into account. And I think we're well aware of there's opportunity for people to question and challenge. So we want to make sure that from a legal standpoint, we navigate this carefully. So I guess I'm going to refrain from trying to state a black and white description of what's permissible, what is not permissible. But we do have all of these principles well in mind as we navigate through this.
And let me just add, it's a bit of a tightrope walk for us, and we'll try to guide the district as well as we can. But there are a lot of different intersecting requirements, so we'll do the best we can and include things where we can. But again, it is a bit of a tightrope walk.
Okay, thank you.
It's clear that for these type of procurements that are listed, which are non-federally funded, that we have the authority to do this, and that's why we're bringing this forward at this time.
Thank you. If I could just ask one follow-up, and thank you for that. I realize it's not easy. The various factors, were you able to determine whether a lot other, say any of the city of San Francisco or a lot of the support commission or any of the other agencies in the city or the Bay Area are using these kind of criteria, and whether or not they feel it has worked, or is it too early in the stage?
Director Grosval, I was unable to find any local agencies that are using criteria like this. That doesn't mean that it's not out there. Ours is really modeled around the city of Portland, which has taken the lead on this type of program and has done it for years. It's still in my world, in the procurement world, it's still fairly new. I think the district is on the forefront of this. We're starting to see these types of conversations pop up in our professional associations, but I don't know of any other local agencies that are currently doing this. Tima, have you seen any of your counterparts that are tackling this type of program?
I thought at one point AC Transit was, but don't quote me on that. I'd have to look it up and see, but I'm starting to see social equity come up, but AC Transit rings a bell, but I can't confirm that.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dick. Any other questions from board members? Okay, I see a hand. Director Tier, please go ahead. Director Tier, I see your hand up.
Hi, sorry about that, guys. I had trouble getting the mute off. So I really just wanted to once again commend Tina and the district. This is cutting edge. This is the wave of the future. And I also want to commend the task force and our chair, Sabrina Hernandez, for this. I do think we will see a lot more public agencies move towards this as one factor. And I just really wanted to commend staff and our directors who worked on it.
Thank you very much, Director Tier. Seeing no more hands. I don't think I see any more hands. Amaret, do you see anything?
I see no other hand.
Okay, great. So I should also, just before we conclude discussion, I want to also recognize Julie Sherman from Hanson Bridget, who was with us in those early meetings and helped us to flesh out the legal issues. And again, thank you to Brian, thank you to Dennis, thank you to Tima, thank you to Amaret, and all of those who worked behind the scenes as well to get us to this point where we're actually taking action on the first substantive it's the first substantive action, I think, that's come out of the work of this important committee. And again, thank you again very much to Director Parr, who gave the authority for this advisory committee to be created. So thank you all. So this concludes discussion on the item. I do not see any more hands. Madam Secretary, has anyone got on to request opportunity to speak from the public?
No one else has joined us to speak.
Okay, thank you very much. In that case, colleagues may have a motion on item number 3 to approve changes to the procurement manual to incorporate consideration of social equity in district procurements.
Parr, move.
Second.
Thank you, Director Parr.
Patty.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Director Garbarino. So, Madam Secretary, would you please do a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item number 3 of the first and second, starting with Director Conroy, who's absent. Director Garbarino.
Aye.
Director Giudice is absent. Director Grosbull.
Aye.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Parr.
Aye.
Director Rabbit is absent. Director Rodoni is also absent. Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie is absent. Director Thier.
Aye.
Second Vice President Hill.
Yes.
First Vice President Cochran,
Yes.
and President Terrio.
Yes.
Thank you. You have 10 ayes.
Thank you very much. 10 ayes, that motion passes. And that's wonderful. Thank you, colleagues. Madam Secretary, has anyone come on? I know it's required for me to ask again. Maybe no one else that has jumped on to ask for public comment. Has anyone else appeared?
No one else has appeared. I did confirm
Okay.
that with our facilitator. Thank you for asking.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So colleagues, that takes us to the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. First and second. Is there anyone opposed to adjourning this meeting? Okay, seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.